Hey there, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to explore the exciting world of Python variables. First, we will talk about 4 basic data in Python.
4 basic data types in Python. Data types in Python are used to represent different kinds of information. Here are 4 of the most common data types you'll encounter. 1. Strings. Strings are used to represent text. For example, the name Python could be stored as a string. 2. Integers. Integers are used to represent whole numbers. For example, the number 42 could be stored as an integer. 3. Floats. Floats are used to represent numbers with decimals. For example, the number 3.14 could be stored as a float. 4. Booleans. Booleans are used to represent either true or false values. For example, you could use a Boolean to represent whether a certain condition is true or false. Remember, each data type has its own unique properties and uses. By understanding the differences between them, you can make more informed decisions when writing code.
Okay, now after we understand about the 4 basic data of Python, now let's talk about variables in Python.
Variables and strings in Python. What are variables? Variables are like containers that hold different types of data, such as numbers or words. They can be reused throughout your program, making it more efficient and easier to manage. Data types, string. There are different types of data that can be stored in a variable. One common type is the string data type, which is a series of characters. You can create a string using either single or double quotes. Creating and printing a variable. To create a variable, use an equal sign to assign a value to a name, like this. To print a variable to the console window, use the print statement, like this. Checking the data type of a variable. To check the data type of a variable, use the type function and put the name of your variable inside the parentheses, like this. The console window will display the data type of the variable. Combining variables. To combine variables of the same data type, use the plus sign like this. Remember to use the correct data type when combining variables. You can't combine a string with a number, for example.
Integer data type in Python. The integer data type is used to store whole numbers in Python. Creating an integer. To create a variable of this type, simply assign it a numeric value without quotes. For example, you can create a variable called age and set it to your age like this. You can perform math operations on age, such as adding or subtracting values. To increase the value of age by 1, you can use the shorthand age plus equal sign 1. Printing an integer. To display the value of age on the console, use the print statement followed by the variable name. Checking the data type of a string. If you want to know the data type of age, use the type function like this. If you accidentally assign a string value to age, you won't be able to perform math operations on it. Make sure to use the appropriate data type for your variables. Concatenate an integer variable with a string. To concatenate an integer variable with a string, you must first convert the integer to a string using typecasting. That's all for the integer data type in Python.
Float data type in Python. A float data type is a number with a decimal point. For example, 250.5 is a float. You can use floats to store values that are not whole numbers. Creating a float. To create a float variable, use the equal sign sign. Printing a float. To show the value of a float variable, use the print function. This will show 250.5. Checking the data type of a float. To see the data type of a float variable, use the type function. This will show float. Concatenating a float variable with a string. For practice, let's print our height variable along with a message using string concatenation. To join a float variable with a string, use the str function. This will show your height is 250.5 centimeters. That's all for floats. Now you can use decimals in Python.
Boolean data type in Python. Let's talk about the Boolean data type in Python. It can only store two values, true or false. Booleans are super useful when it comes to if statements. We can use them to check if a statement is true or false, and then execute certain code depending on the result. Creating a Boolean. For instance, if we have a variable called human, we can assign it a Boolean value, either true or false. Printing a Boolean. We can then print the value of human using a print statement, and it will display either true or false. Checking the data type of a Boolean. To check the data type of our human variable, we can use the type function. Just make sure not to put the variable in quotes, otherwise it will be treated as a string and won't behave like a Boolean. Concatenating a Boolean variable with a string. If you want to display your Boolean value along with a string using string concatenation, you'll need to convert it to a string first using the str function.
And that's it for variables. Remember, a variable is just a container for a value, and it behaves according to the type of value that it contains.